There is a moment, and you have lived it, when you hear your own voice saying something cruel and you cannot stop it. The words are already crossing the room. Some part of you, a small clear part, standing somewhere behind your own eyes, is watching in disbelief, thinking, "This is not what I meant. This is not even what I feel. Why am I doing this?" And still the words keep coming, sharper, more precise, aimed with a kind of expertise you did not know you had, at the exact soft place in the person across from you. Afterward, there is the silence, the strange, hollow calm, and the question you never quite ask out loud, because asking it would mean admitting something you are not ready to admit. Who was that? Here is what this episode is going to say, and it is going to say it now rather than make you wait 20 minutes for it. There is something living inside you that is not you. It is made of every piece of pain you were never able to finish feeling. It sleeps for weeks. It wakes when it is hungry. And when it wakes, it does not want peace. It does not want resolution. It does not want you to be happy. It wants to be fed. And the only thing it eats is more pain. Eckhart Tolle called it the pain body. Carl Jung, decades earlier and in colder language, called it a complex, and said something about it that almost nobody quotes. We like to think we have complexes. What is far more important, he wrote, is that complexes can have us. You have spent your life believing you are the one making the decisions. Tonight, we are going to look at the parts of your life where that is not true. No one is born with it. It is built. Think about what a child actually is, biologically, emotionally. A small nervous system with no capacity yet to process what happens to it. An adult who is hurt can name the hurt, walk around it, tell a friend, cry, sleep, and wake up with the thing slightly smaller. That is metabolism. That is what a fully formed psyche does with pain. It digests it. A child cannot do that. A child does not have the equipment. So when something happens that is too large, the fear in a house where the adults are at war, the particular loneliness of being a child nobody is looking at, the shame of being laughed at by people whose opinion was, at that age, the entire world, that pain does not get digested. It gets stored, swallowed whole and put somewhere in the dark, undissolved, still exactly the shape and temperature it was on the day it happened. And it does not sit there quietly. It gathers. This is the part people underestimate. Pain that cannot be processed does not stay a single event. It becomes a magnet. Every later experience that even faintly rhymes with the original gets pulled in and added to it. The first betrayal collects the second. The second collects the third. By the time you are 30, you are not carrying one wound from when you were 6. You are carrying a dense, accumulated mass, 30 years thick, that formed around a 6-year-old's night. Jung described this with a precision that still unsettles me. A complex, he said, is the image of a certain psychic situation which is strongly accentuated emotionally, and it is subject to the control of the conscious mind to only a limited extent. And then this phrase, which is the whole episode in 11 words. It behaves like an animated foreign body in the sphere of consciousness. Animated, meaning it moves on its own, foreign body. Meaning it is in you, but it is not you. Jung was not writing poetry. He was writing what he had measured in a laboratory with a stopwatch, watching people's reaction times collapse and their breathing change when a word landed on something buried. He could see the thing move. Tolle, coming at it from an entirely different direction, from a park bench in London after a night that ended his old life, described the same object in warmer words. An accumulation of old emotional pain, he said, that takes on a life of its own. not a metaphor. An energy field, semi-autonomous, living in you the way a second occupant lives in a house. So we have a psychiatrist with an instrument and a mystic with an experience, arriving at the same conclusion from opposite ends of the century. There is something in there. It formed around what you could not feel, and it is not under your control. And now let us look at how it actually operates, because this is where it stops being an idea and starts being your Tuesday. It has two states, dormant and active. Most of the time it sleeps. Weeks can go by, months in some people, and during those months you are more or less yourself, reasonable, kind or trying to be, able to hear criticism without your chest going tight. You look at the person you were during the last episode and you barely recognize them, and you think, that was a bad patch. I was stressed. It is over now. It is not over. It is asleep. And it is not asleep because it has been healed. It is asleep because it is full. Then it gets hungry. You will know the moment if you look for it, and this is the single most useful thing in this entire episode. So I want to say it carefully. There is a gap of about 2 seconds between the pain body waking and you becoming it. 2 seconds where it is still an object you could look at, before it becomes the eyes you are looking through. In that gap there is a physical sensation, and it is different for everyone, but it is consistent in you. A heaviness low in the chest. A sudden metallic irritability that arrives before any thought explains it. A tightening at the jaw. A drop, like a floor, giving way an inch. Tolle's instruction was simply this: watch for any sign of unhappiness in yourself, in any form, because it may be the pain body waking up. 2 seconds later the takeover, and here is the mechanism that makes it so hard to catch. It does not announce itself. It does not arrive as a visitor. It arrives as you. It uses the word I. It says, I am done with this. It says, I have had enough of being treated this way. It says, I am just being honest. Every sentence it speaks is in the first person, and so you defend it because you think you are defending yourself. You are not. You are a person holding the door open for something and calling it your own leg. Then it eats. This is the part that people find genuinely offensive the first time they hear it, and I understand why. The pain body does not want your suffering to end. Your suffering is its food supply, so it will go looking actively, intelligently, for the specific experiences that produce more of the emotion it is made of. Watch what that means in practice. If it is made of abandonment, it will find in a perfectly warm message the one ambiguous word. It will build an entire case out of a delayed reply. It will steer you over years toward people who are slightly unavailable, and it will call that chemistry. If it is made of humiliation, it will hear contempt in a neutral tone. It will replay a 5-year-old conversation at 2 a.m. and win the argument again, and it will feel almost good. That is feeding. That warmth you feel at 2 a.m, rehearsing the thing you should have said, that is not you healing. That is something in you being fed. And it does not only feed on the pain of others, it feeds on yours just as well, which is why the inner voice that speaks to you in your worst hours is so precise, so well informed, so specific about your failures. It knows exactly where to press. It has been taking notes for 30 years. There is one more thing, and it is the strangest. It is not only yours. Tolle's word for this was the collective pain body, and if you have ever gone home for a holiday as a functional adult and found yourself, within about 4 hours, behaving like a hostile 15-year-old, you have already met it. There is a shared field in a family. Old material that belongs to no single person and that everyone in the room is plugged into. You do not walk into that house alone. You walk into 100 years of unfelt feeling with a table in the middle of it. Ram Dass put it more kindly and more devastatingly. If you think you're enlightened, he said, go and spend a week with your family. There are wider fields than the family. Whole peoples carry them. Centuries of unmetabolized grief moving through a population, waking on schedule, feeding on the news, finding its enemy, calling itself justice. That is beyond what we can address tonight, but I want you to notice the shape is identical. Old pain, seeking new pain, wearing the mask of a legitimate grievance. You're not stupid. You have almost certainly noticed the pattern by now. Most people do somewhere in their 30s. You have seen the same argument arrive in 3 different relationships, wearing 3 different faces. You have watched yourself do the thing you swore you would not do. You may have read about this exact concept before, understood it completely, felt that clean, bright click of recognition, and then found yourself 2 weeks later in the middle of a full episode with the book on the shelf behind you. So why does knowing not work? Here are 6 reasons, and I would like you to check yourself against each one honestly. The first, it disguises itself as being right. The pain body almost never shows up saying, I am old pain and I want to be fed. It shows up as a valid point. And this is the diabolical part. The point usually is valid. They probably were dismissive. They probably did forget. The content of your grievance can be 100% accurate and still be the vehicle. The tell is never the content. The tell is the disproportion and the appetite. Ask yourself the question that cannot be argued with. Do I want this resolved, or do I want to keep going? If some part of you would be disappointed by an immediate, sincere apology, you are not in a disagreement. You are in a feeding. The second, it chooses your people. We like to believe attraction is about qualities. Kindness, humour, the way someone listens. Sometimes it is. But there is a second selection process running underneath, and it is not selecting for your happiness. It is selecting for resonance. 2 pain bodies recognize each other across a room in about 4 seconds, long before either person has said anything true. That electricity you have felt, the one that made someone else seem flat and safe by comparison, is very often not love arriving. It is recognition. Something in you has found its food source and has told you it is destiny. And then 2 people build a life on top of that, and every few weeks the arrangement they actually made, without ever discussing it, comes due. They take turns. One feeds, then the other feeds. They call the aftermath intensity, and they mistake the exhaustion for depth. The third, it uses your spirituality. This one is going to sting for the audience of a channel like this one, and it should sting for me too. Nothing camouflages a pain body better than a spiritual vocabulary. Watch how it works. You do not have a resentment, you have discernment. You are not avoiding a difficult person, you are protecting your peace. You are not superior, you are simply more conscious than they are, which is why the conversation is beneath you. The pain body does not care what clothes it wears. Robes will do. It will happily learn every word in your new vocabulary and use all of them to keep doing exactly what it was doing before. The most reliable test I know, does your practice make you easier to live with? Not more serene in a room by yourself. Easier for the people who have to share a kitchen with you. If the answer is no, something has taken over the practice. The fourth, it is fed by the fight against it. Once you find out about this thing, the immediate instinct is combat. You resolve to stop. You watch for it like a sentry. You catch it. You get angry at yourself for having it. You criticize yourself for reacting. You feel shame about the shame. Every one of those is more pain, which is to say, every one of those is a meal. Alan Watts spent his life on this trap and never found a way to say it that let people off the hook, because there is not one. You cannot use the mind to fix what the mind is doing. You cannot make yourself relax by trying harder. You cannot want your way out of wanting. The whole apparatus of self-improvement, applied here, becomes a very sophisticated delivery system for exactly the emotion it was built to remove. Whatever you fight, you strengthen. What you resist persists. Which leaves you nowhere if the only tool you have is effort. Hold that. We are coming back to it. The fifth, it hides inside the story. Every pain body comes with a narrative, and the narrative is very good. It has characters, a timeline, evidence, and a moral. You have told it to friends. Some of them have agreed with you, which helped enormously. And as long as your attention is inside the story, examining the plot, checking the evidence, deciding who was at fault, you are not looking at the thing itself at all. You are looking through it. The story is not the pain body's confession. The story is its camouflage. Krishnamurti spent 60 years trying to get people to see the one move that undoes this, and almost nobody could hear it, because it cannot be done as a technique. The observer, he said, is the observed. The thing examining your anger and the anger are not two. When you sit in judgment on your own reaction, deciding whether it is justified, the judge on the bench is wearing the defendant's coat. The sixth, it waits. This is the quiet one, and it is the reason most people abandon this work in month 4. You have a good stretch. 6 weeks, maybe 8. Nothing wakes. You conclude, reasonably, that you have healed it. You relax your attention, because who would not? And then a specific tone of voice on a specific evening when you are already tired, and it is standing in the room in full possession of you at exactly its original size. Nothing was healed. It was simply not hungry. Dormancy feels like recovery, and it is not, and every person who does this work has to lose that particular illusion at least once, usually painfully, before the real thing can begin. So, you cannot think your way out. You cannot fight it, because the fight feeds it. You cannot analyze it, because the analysis is its hiding place. You cannot outrun it, because it lives in the runner. What is left is the one thing nobody wants, because it does not look like doing anything at all. You look at it, and you do not do anything else. I want to be exact here, because this is the part that gets turned into a slogan and thereby ruined. Looking at it does not mean thinking about it. Thinking about it is the story again. It means turning your attention onto the raw sensation itself, in the body, right now with no commentary running. The heat under the sternum, the pressure behind the eyes, the particular texture of it, which you have felt 1,000 times and never once actually examined, because every time it arrived, you were busy being it. You stay there, you do not name it, you do not justify it. You do not tell it to leave. You do not, and this matters more than all the rest, take its side by agreeing with the story it is telling. You simply remain present as the thing that is aware of it. And something begins to happen that you will not believe until it happens to you. It loses coherence. Not immediately, not obediently, but under sustained attention, without commentary and without conflict, the thing cannot hold its shape. Tolle's explanation for this is the most beautiful sentence in his work. The pain body is the dark shadow, cast by the ego, and it is afraid of the light of your consciousness. It is afraid of being found out. Jung said the same thing in the language of the clinic. Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate. Every word of that is load-bearing. not fight the unconscious, not defeat it, make it conscious. Bring it into the light, and it stops being the hand and becomes the object. The complex that had you becomes a complex you have. And Thich Nhat Hanh, who was gentler than either of them, and possibly more accurate, gave the instruction that keeps this from becoming cold surveillance. Do not fight your suffering, he said. Hold it the way a mother holds a crying baby. The awareness is the mother. The pain is the child. You are not there to interrogate the child, or to correct it, or to make it be quiet. You are there so that it is not alone with what it feels. Because remember what it is made of. It is not a demon. It is the compressed, undigested experience of someone very small who was left alone with something too big. The reason it is so strong is that nobody stayed. The looking is you staying. Now the honest part, which the gentle version of this teaching usually leaves out. This will feel like losing. The first thing that goes is your case, all that carefully assembled evidence about what was done to you, which you have carried for years, which is genuinely true, and which you have earned the right to hold, and which you will find you have to set down, not because it was false, but because you cannot hold it and be free at the same time. That is a real loss. Grieve it. Then something worse. You discover how much of your personality was built on top of this thing. The edge people find funny. The intensity you were proud of. The certainty you brought to a room. Some of that, more than you would like, was the pain body wearing your face and doing an excellent impression. When it thins out, you may find yourself with less to say, and quieter, and unsure who exactly is left. And then the strangest deprivation of all. Peace is boring. Nobody warns you. After decades on a diet of intensity, a calm evening registers to the nervous system as emptiness, almost as a kind of death, and the pull to reach for the old fire is not weakness, it is withdrawal. Many people do this work faithfully for months and quit precisely here, not because it failed, but because it worked and the reward looked like nothing. That nothing is the doorway. Almost everyone turns around in front of it. The ember does not go out. I want to be truthful with you at the end. Nobody arrives at a day when the thing is gone, and anyone selling that day is selling something. What happens is stranger and better than removal. It stops being the driver. There will still be evenings when something old moves in your chest. You will feel it arrive, the familiar heaviness, the pull toward the sentence that would start it all again. The difference, and it is the only difference that has ever mattered, is that there will now be a space between the arrival and the action, a hand's width of daylight, and in that small gap you are no longer a passenger in your own evening. You will feel the old heat, and you will not reach for the sentence, and the person across from you will never know what did not happen in the room tonight, and neither will your children, and that silence is the entire inheritance you are able to change. The pain was never the enemy. It was a child's unfinished sentence, waiting decades for someone with the strength to hear the end of it. And you are the only one who was ever going to be able to. Everything that has ever hurt you is still in there. It simply is not holding the pen anymore. Turn and look at it, not to fight it, not to fix it, just so it is finally not alone in the dark. That is all it ever wanted.